What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name's Bernie, and today we're going to be going over some MLB bold predictions. Keep in mind, these are not my bold predictions. I'm just agreeing or disagreeing with them, so let's get into it. First up is the St. Louis Cardinals, and the bold prediction for them is that they will have under 80 wins in the 2020 season. Last year, they had 91 wins, and that was good enough to finish them first in the division. Last year, they only had half a good year of their ace pitcher, Jack Flaherty, and in the second half of the season, he was historically great. The bottom of their lineup isn't very good with hitters like Molina, Fowler, and Edman, but I'm still disagreeing with this and saying that the Cardinals have over 80 wins this season. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Reds. Remember that so far this offseason, they've already added Bauer, Castellanos, Shogo, and Wade Miley. They have, in my opinion, the most underrated player in the MLB in Eugenio Suarez, who last year hit 49 home runs, and although I don't think he will get quite to that total, I still think he will be very good again this year. They will also be getting a second year out of Nick Senzel, who can be a great addition to the Reds lineup. Their starting rotation this year will be Castillo, Gray, Bauer, DeSclafani, and Wade Miley, all pitchers capable of sub-4 ERAs. Therefore, I do agree, and I say that the Reds will make the playoffs this year. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Brewers, and their bold prediction is that they will have the most home runs in the NL. Last year, the Brewers were number 7 in the MLB in total home runs with 250. The Twins were number 1 with 307, and the Dodgers led the NL and were 4th in the MLB with 279. Players on the Brewers that I think could have over 30-plus home runs include Ryan Braun, Christian Yelich, Keston Hiura, and Justin Smoak, although I don't think Smoak will quite get to that mark. Other players in their lineup like Sogard, Kane, and Arcia are sub-20 hitters, and I don't think the Brewers have enough big home run hitters where they can reach this mark. Therefore, I'm disagreeing with this and saying that the Brewers do not lead the NL in home runs. Next up is the Cubs trading Kris Bryant at the deadline because they are not competitive in the division. I have them finishing 4th in the division. I have Cardinals, Brewers, Reds, and then Cubs. They have a lot of power, but I don't like their rotation, so I don't think they will be competitive come the trade deadline. And I believe that some of their other players, especially their batters, are overhyped. Therefore, I am agreeing and saying that Kris Bryant gets traded at the trade deadline because the Cubs are not competitive. Next up, we have the Pirates, and will they be the worst team in the MLB this season? Last year, they were the second worst team in the MLB, and the real only solid players are Bell, Reynolds, Polanco, Archer, Musgrove, and Keller. They have 70-plus games in an extremely stacked division, and although a lot of people would give this title to the Orioles, I agree with this, and I'm saying that the Pirates will be the worst team in the MLB. Next, we have the Mets with the best ERA in baseball, and I would have agreed with this until Noah Syndergaard went down with Tommy John. This leaves the rotation as DeGrom, Stroman, Porcello, Matz, and Michael Wacha. I believe the back three of the rotation will end the year with an ERA over 4.3, and I think that Stroman would have to have a huge bounce-back year for this to be possible. Therefore, I'm disagreeing and saying that the Mets do not have the best ERA in baseball. Next, we have the Phillies, and Harper and Hoskins being both 40-plus home run hitters. In 2019, Harper hit 35 home runs and Hoskins hit 29. Harper did so with the 260 average, and Hoskins did it with the 226 average. These numbers cannot get much worse, and both players are players that can get very hot down the stretch of the season. Therefore, I am going to agree with this and say that Harper and Hoskins both hit 40-plus home runs. Next, we got Ronald Acuna Jr., and his prediction is that he will have more stolen bases than he does home runs. In 2019, he had 21 home runs with 37 stolen bases and an OBP of 365. Unlike other superstars, Acuna does not bat 3 or 4 in the lineup, he bats number 1, which means that pitchers cannot necessarily avoid him. My guess is that his home run total goes down, but because pitchers cannot avoid him and he is a very good hitter, that his OBP will either remain the same or increase. Therefore, I'm saying he has more opportunities to steal bases, and he ends with more stolen bases than he does home runs. Next up is the Washington Nationals, with Juan Soto winning the NL MVP. Last year, he finished 9th in the MVP votings, hit 34 home runs with 110 RBIs with an OBP of 401. With the other stars, though, I expect these numbers to even out, but I still think he will be very good this year. However, I disagree with this, and I say Juan Soto does not win the NL MVP this year. Next up, we have the Miami Marlins, and the prediction for them is that they will win between 75 and 80 games. They do have an improved roster, and they have lots of underrated players like Jonathan Villar, who's a possible 40-plus home run hitter, and in the rotation they have Caleb Smith and Yamamoto. However, the division is stacked, and they have to play 70-plus games against these teams, which are 4 possible playoff contenders. Therefore, I'm disagreeing with this, and although the Marlins are improved, I'm saying that they have under 75 wins this season. Next, we got the Dodgers, and their bold prediction is that they will win between 115 and 120 games. In 2019, they won 106 games and since have added Betts and Price. Their lineup on paper could be one of the best of all time, and projections showing every one of their starters hitting over 20 home runs. However, baseball does not work like this, and the Dodgers would have to be much better on the road than they were last year, and their 4 and 5 starters would have to step up huge. Therefore, I'm saying that the Dodgers win under 115 games. Next up, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the prediction for them is that they will win 90-plus games and get a wild card spot into the playoffs. In 2019, they had 85 wins, and this season they will get a fair amount of games against the Giants and Rockies, who are not projected to be very good this season. Some keys for the Diamondbacks are they added Madison Bumgarner. In the rotation, they have Luke Weaver and Zach Gallen, who can both be breakout pitchers this season, and they have a bunch of other decent guys in their lineup. Therefore, I will agree with this and say that the Diamondbacks do win 90-plus games and get the second wildcard position. Next, we have the Padres, and their prediction is that they will make a big move, trading prospects for a big-name starter. Already in their rotation, they have Paddock, Lucchesi, and Dinelson Lamet. But a lot of their future team is already up in the majors. The players that they plan to win with in the future are no longer in the minors and are currently on the roster. But the Padres do still have a lot of good prospects down in the minors that they're not necessarily going to use. Therefore, it makes 100% sense that the Padres do package up these prospects that they're not going to use and trade them for a big-time starting pitcher. Therefore, I'm agreeing and saying that the Padres do make this move. Now we have the Colorado Rockies, and their prediction is that Nolan Arenado will hit 60-plus home runs this season. Last season, he hit 41 home runs, and it's a great ballpark for hitters, but there's no real reason to have for disagreeing with this. But because it's such a big number, I am going to disagree and say that Arenado has under 60 home runs. And the last prediction for this video is the Giants losing over 100 games this season. They are bad. They have no projected hitters over 25 home runs. Samardzija is their only good pitcher, but even he is projected with an over 4.3 ERA. They really have no bright spots on this roster. Therefore, I am agreeing with this and saying that the Giants lose over 100 games this season. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you. And if you like today's content or want me to make one for the AL as well, make sure you leave that down in the comment section below and are subscribed to Touchdowns to Home Runs. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.